everyone, and welcome to another episode of Autobiology. Today, I have with me Dr. Forrest Sauer of Twin Oaks Health, and you are out of Fargo, North Dakota. Is that correct?
You got it.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, right.
You got to bounce the O's, Jennifer. Fargo, North Dakota.
I know. I was gonna really practice my North Dakota accent, and I just was like, I can't pull this off. So
I'll take over for the both of us.
okay, all right, great. Dr. Sauer is a functional medicine practitioner, and I'm going to have him go into kind of what I'd love for you to fill people in on first is we all have that story of like how the heck we ended up here, and I know from your background that you were a young person that had a lot of issues going on. You know, you had depression, you had brain fog, moodiness, IBS, overweight, fatigued, and you were like, what the heck's going on with me, you know? And you were one of those people that was like, I want to understand what's happening in my body. And I imagine that that's one of the reasons that, you discovered chiropractic medicine, and that's what kind of led you there. But could you take us a little bit on that journey, because I'm sure there's somebody listening right now who says, oh, I feel that way too. So how are you feeling, and how did you end up deciding to go this route?
Great question. I was even feeling that way while I was getting my doctorate in chiropractic. I had brain fog. I had IBS. I hit the snooze button 5 times, and I still felt exhausted in the morning. And I was in my early 20s. And, it wasn't until I went to a education seminar that a friend of mine bribed me to go because it was free lunch, poor college student. Yes, I'll be there for sure. Free food. Yeah, I'm there. And so I was there, and the guy who's teaching was explaining how in his practice, he was actively reversing diabetes. And keep in mind, I was halfway through chiropractic college to get my doctorate, and this was brand new information to me. And it changed absolutely everything. And so I started, recognizing and realizing that the symptoms that I was experiencing, the brain fog, the acne, the lack of motivation, wasn't normal. The fact that I couldn't lose weight, and I kept trying, and, all that was signs and symptoms of something that was bigger at heart. And so I took a really deep dive into the field of functional medicine, and really fell in love with it, about how just simply having the education and then taking action on that education is not just powerful enough to reverse your symptoms, but radically change the course of your entire life. And so because of that experience, that really empowered me to do what I do now, which is take people through that same experience and educate them on what kind of a lifestyle they need to adopt.
I love that answer, because one of my questions that I had written down in advance literally was, when you were at that initial nutrition seminar that you talk about, what was the biggest surprise or aha moment? So for you, it was the fact that you get diabetes, it doesn't mean that you're going to have diabetes for forever. Is that a fair statement?
Diabetes is not a death sentence, but what I've found to be true is neither is thyroid, neither is autoimmune, neither is having Crohn's or celiac disease. Like a lot of these chronic long-term lifestyle diseases are reversible. And having the fundamental belief is like the body has the power, innate power to heal itself. And if you believe that the body has the power to heal, and if you change your healthy habits, you can change your health, then those are the kind of clients that we're able to help.
Totally tracking with you. I have 1,000 things going through my mind as you're talking, because I love everything that you said. Now, let's say that somebody listening right now, they were like, hold on a second. Did he just say thyroid is not a chronic, I'm not going to have thyroid issues for forever, potentially? So what do you say to somebody who comes in with a thyroid issue, and that's what they say? How do you start helping educate them?
Okay. Great question. I could take this in about 1,000 different directions.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is I'll go through and just kind of break down really kind of the process on how we systematically get results with people with specifically thyroid, because that's what we'll talk about. So if we have someone with thyroid, fundamentally, let's go ahead and understand, what does the thyroid do? It is the gas pedal for your body. So it controls the speed at which your body works. Now, your thyroid just didn't simply stop working just because it's Monday, we're going to stop working. No, that's not how your thyroid works. It stopped working for a reason. So in order to get the proper reason, what I realized early on and what we need to do is we need to take the proper lab tests. So one of the most common challenges that we hear with clients who have thyroid symptoms is that their labs are always coming back normal.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the number one
what the
thing.
heck? I feel like crap, but my doctor says everything's fine. And it's because insurance only pays for what medications they can prescribe. So taking that truth, that fundamental truth, that there's going to be very basic labs that are going to be drawn. And there's a lot of guessing games. Now, the thyroid, it impacts your whole body. It just simply doesn't work in isolation. And yet we have all of these specialists. We have a cardiologist for your heart. We have a dermatologist for your skin. We got endocrinologists for your hormones and for your thyroid. Your body doesn't work that way. It works holistically. Your thyroid impacts your stomach. It impacts your heart. It impacts your skin. It impacts how you're feeling day to day. It impacts your weight. So if you're going to fix the thyroid, you need to take that same thought process and recognize what role your gut has on your thyroid, what role your liver has on your thyroid, what role your immune system can have on your thyroid. And quite frankly, the main medical system, God bless them, they save lives. I'm not blaming them. They're not equipped to deal with it, though. They're not equipped to properly educate people on the kind of lifestyle that they need to adopt to heal the gut, to heal the liver, to heal the underlying cause of the problem naturally. So that's where we start.
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that I say a lot is I feel like one of the worst things that ever happened to medicine was specialization, because people, while they know, can go a mile deep, 5 miles deep, like within their specialty, you lose perspective on what's happening in other critical systems and how they all work together. And when we talk about the thyroid specifically, I mean, the thyroid is literally what controls every hormone in your body. It's this giant cascade. It's a giant communication system. So it doesn't, affect just, one part. Everything's talking to everything else. And so to your point, I love that you said that. It's unfortunate. The body doesn't work that way in silos.
Doesn't. And you can have someone with, the classic hypothyroid symptoms. They could have hair loss. They could have mood imbalances. They're feeling exhausted. They're gaining weight, and they haven't changed a thing in their life. Those are, depression, anxiety. Those are the classic symptoms. However, with client A, it could be a vitamin D deficiency. Client B, it could be an autoimmune condition like Hashimoto's or Graves'. Client C, it could be problems with their gut. The challenge is you don't know until you have the proper lab testing that is done. And if I have someone coming to me and they're taking 20 different vitamins and supplements and a handful of medications, I know they're desperately trying to feel better, but they're playing the guessing game because they don't know where to start.
It's interesting. Just a family member of mine recently, who's a male, was diagnosed with, a thyroid, issue. And of course, I was a little surprised when they told me that, yes, they're going to be on the typical prescription Synthroid for a while, but that it might be just for a while, that they would try at some point to try and dial them back once maybe they fix some other imbalances going on. So to me, that was great news. Because I feel like you can't ignore all of the clinical data that has come out about how reversible things can be if we address, the elephant in the room, which is the gut is involved in almost everything. When you think about it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about diabetes. You talked a little bit about thyroid. I'm curious though, like when people come to you and what is the most typical thing that you hear when you see a new patient? Like, why do they finally seek you out, Dr. Sauer?
There's three main driving factors that people come and see me. And number one, most common, is people are not happy with their health. They're sick and tired of being sick and tired, for lack of a better way to put it.
Right.
They don't like the way that they feel. The second most common is they don't want to end up like mom and dad.
Ah, that's a good one.
They don't want to end up like some of their friends. They see the direction that their health could be taking, and they want to take some action against it. And the third one is it's kind of the same as the second, but it is like, if I don't take action now, it might become too late 3 to 5 years from now. And I want to start taking action before things do get worse, because we can handle it. Like, we can tough it out. You know those people where they've been burning the candle at both ends, and they just kind of mentally, they can chew down a tree with their teeth.
Absolutely.
They're fine. I got it.
Right.
How you doing? Great. Maybe.
Right.
And what it is it can be an overaccumulation of stress. So there's 3 different kinds of stress. There's physical, chemical, and emotional stress. And if we have too much physical stress, that's the arthritis, bumps, bruises, breaking bones. Like, that's a pretty easily understandable kind of physical stress. Or if you have a physically demanding job. The other one is more sneaky, and that's chemical stress. So that's all the chemicals that we have in our food, all the preservatives and pesticides. In fact, I was just reviewing some research yesterday about how increasing your daily caloric intake of ultra processed foods by simply 10% increases your risk of adopting cancer and or dementia. It goes up by 25%, which is mind-boggling. If you want to increase your risk of mortality by 25%, just simply eat more processed foods. And it's because of the chemicals that are in those processed foods. So that's the chemical stress.
Yep.
And then we got emotional stress. And I know everybody lives perfectly emotionally stress-free lifestyles right now, so we're fine. We don't need to talk about that. But that can be, divorces, death in the family, stressful jobs. If we're someone who pays constant attention to the news, or our socio-political environment, and gets stressed out about that can be very emotionally stressful. And our body can only handle so much stress, Jennifer. I mean, think about the last time that you felt absolutely tapped out. Your body isn't as resilient.
Nope, it's not. You know what's so interesting about that, though? I love how you put it in terms of the 3 types of stress. But if most people are probably like I used to be, which is whatever, emotional stress. We're all like, we go through all trying times. Emotion is not impacting my health. And so in my studies with cognitive research scientists, specifically Dr. Kiran Omani, I was introduced to the concept of orchids and dandelions. I don't know if you follow this. It's Dr. Thomas Boyce. He was a pediatrician turned, clinical psychologist for children. And he wanted to figure out why some children, even though they're born in the same household, live with the same parents, grew up with the same rules and the same environment, one flourished and one did not. Like, to the point where they were just plagued with, biological diseases or mental disorders, like, throughout their whole life. And what he discovered was their inability to process emotions, or their sensitivity to emotions, actually affected their biology. And what the research has shown since then is that doesn't change. Those kids grow up, they become adults. And if they don't know that, they need to pay attention to how that stress is managed. It absolutely comes out in the form of autoimmune diseases and so on and so forth and what have you. So I pay a lot more attention to that than I used to. So what do people say though when you try to educate them on that sort of stress? Are they more willing to listen to you at this point, or what are some things that can help people kind of get this a little better?
I love that research that you just said, because it's ultimately the individual's choice on how you want to respond. It's not the event that is going to control your response. It's how you view that event. Because you can have you probably have heard of this very common example. You have, two sons. Their dad was an alcoholic. One grew up very successful, doesn't touch alcohol. The other one lives under a bridge, and it's not good. He's a chronic alcoholic. You ask him the same question, is like, why don't you drink? Or why did you end up the way that you did? The son who's very successful says, well, I had no choice. My dad was an alcoholic. You ask the same question to the brother who's living under the bridge. Why'd you end up the way that you did? Well, I didn't have a choice. My dad was an alcoholic.
Exactly. This is what I'm talking about. That the kid who was successful, he was the dandelion. The kid that ended up under the bridge, he was an orchid. This is a thing. This really happens. And it's, based on how their autonomic nervous system processes information. It's different, but people have to make that choice to recognize it and do something different.
So it's not the events that happen to you, it's your perception of the events.
Exactly. It is exactly right.
And Jennifer, I think the reason why this is not popular is because when you take this stance, it puts the ownership back on the individual.
This is a huge topic right now. In fact, believe it or not, I've had a couple of companies, reach out to me and ask me to create programs to teach their employees how to deal with change, how to deal with stress. Because people are not there. Nobody's ever taught this. In fact, up until what do you think? Maybe like the last 15 or 20 years, it was, kind of voodoo to talk about your emotions at work. But now we're getting to the point where we're like, hey, let's actually talk about how you figure this out so that you're happier and you're a better employee at the same time.
Yeah, and you think about, like you just said, the common sentiment of American culture, it is go, go, go. Everything's fine. Everything's perfect. We're just going to keep going. And it's never stopping, taking the time, processing. How do I actually feel about this? You asked the question about how do I educate my clients to deal with emotional stress or physical stress or chemical stress? Really, it's all about resilience. We're never going to live in this perfect world. There's always going to be things that are emotionally stressful. But sometimes if we're exhausted, we didn't get a good night's sleep, we're not confident in the reflection that we see in the mirror, we're taking medications that we don't want to take, and yet it feels like we don't have any choice. We feel like we're trapped. We're a lot less patient with things that are challenging in our world. So a lot better place to come from is if you are working at getting your health back. You're seeing the slow but steady progress with your health, and you're moving in the right direction. You feel like you have a purpose once again. The exact same stressful event could come around, and you could handle it with grace. And it's because you're coming from a place that's more resilient.
Yeah, you kind of have to build up those reserves, but you have to recognize that you have to build them up in the first place.
So what connection does this have with autoimmune conditions?
Right. Thank you.
Yes. The connection is if your immune system is directly connected with how your nervous system works. If you're in chronic fight and flight state, that is going to drive your immune system to become worse and worse. And it's called a positive feedback loop, where what we need to do is we need to start breaking that loop, allowing your body to chill out, and then your immune system is going to be able to calm down and stop attacking your body. So why is it called autoimmune? Well, think of the root words. Auto means self, immune meaning your immune system. So your immune system is attacking yourself. That's autoimmune disease. What is autoimmune disease? It can be Hashimoto's, attacking your thyroid. It can be Graves', attacking your thyroid. Crohn's, celiac, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. It's all your immune system that's attacking your body in different areas. But it has the same root underlying cause of the problem.
I would have to say of all, because I am a scientific medical writer, so I have written on so many disease states And at the end of the day, it always comes back to the reality is this is, and a lot of people say it's all one disease. It just depends on your genetic predisposition and your environment and which genes have been turned on or off that dictates how it shows up in you personally. Do we have to treat the organ system, that it ended up in, maybe differently than somebody else? Yeah, absolutely. But, and I think this is one of the things that you talk about in your practice, you have to recognize that you have to, if you get the fire put out, you have to kind of go back to, all right, so what started this in the first place?
Absolutely.
Right? Let's go back to you for a second.
Sure.
When you were going through all that stuff when you were growing up, all right, thinking about all those issues you had, what is like one thing that you wish you had known then that you know now that would have probably helped with either not, maybe not all of them, but a significant portion of what you were going through? Like what's that one thing or one or two things?
Instead of just simply a helpful health tip, I think what would probably be best service is the fact of taking action. So knowledge is not power. The action on the knowledge is power. So you can know all the fancy stuff. You can know, taking turmeric is going to decrease inflammation. Taking fish oil is great. Taking probiotic, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't actually do it, it's not going to be a benefit. So that leads me to tell the story of when me and my wife, we were taking a vacation out on the East Coast. And one of my wife's bucket list items is she wanted to see the sunrise on the ocean.
Okay.
And I was all on board. I was like, yep, babe, that sounds great. That sounds like an awesome experience. Let's do it. But she neglected to tell me the time at which the sun got up and what time I was going to have to get up in order to beat the sun on the ocean.
Okay.
And I didn't want to wake up at 4. I didn't want to do it. And so the alarm clock goes off. And we're in the hotel. She takes her back. She puts it against the wall. She takes her feet. She pushes it against my body. And she just pushes me right out of bed.
Okay.
So guess where Forrest is going? I'm going to the beach.
Yes.
So, and so we get there, and Jennifer, as soon as we get there, before the sun, like the crest of the top of the sun is just coming up over the water. And we're sitting there on the beach and we got our coffee and we see these crabs, and there's hundreds of crabs all around us, and they're all doing their things with their claws. And so you're hearing just tiny little clicks.
Oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Yeah.
It's just amazing. And we got seagulls that are flying overhead, and they're calling, and they're, doing their thing. And the sun's coming up, and it starts throwing off all of these colors. So it's showing off all of the purples and the iridescent blues and the pinks and the orange colors, and it's just changing by the second. And as the sun's about halfway up, we're close to a naval base, so there's a battleship that's coming across, and it just intersects right with the sun. And the sun keeps coming up, the battleship goes off, and here, lo and behold, 5 minutes later, here's a pod of dolphins. And it is picture like the most perfect and most beautiful sunrise you have ever seen.
Okay.
That was that.
Wow.
Now, I used to be an amazing procrastinator. I used to put things off till the very last minute and always wait. Like, I'll do it later. Now, it didn't hit me until the plane ride home that I almost missed that morning. I almost hit the snooze button. Me and my wife, we've been married close to 14 years now. And you ask her some of the highlights, she's going to mention that morning. And I almost missed it because I wanted to sleep in, because I wanted to procrastinate. So I wanted to see as many sunrises as I can in the future. And I want my clients to see as many sunrises and have those experiences. And we just can't do that if we're constantly feeling like crap.
What a great visual to give people to walk away with. I absolutely love that. And I love that you brought up the whole subject of procrastination. For some reason this week, I was doing some research, and I came across this whole trove of research on procrastination. And I did not realize, maybe you probably knew this, I did not know this, that procrastination is actually an emotional dysregulation issue.
It's fear.
Yes, it's fear. And in all this time, all these people like me, I thought it was time management issues. And they're like, no, it is a psychological, deeply buried emotional issue, and most of the time it's fear. And I think that that's what happens with people with their health. They're almost afraid of knowing, maybe, or afraid of what might happen, good or bad. It's just fear of the unknown.
I think it's fear of the unknown, but I also believe it is fear of being wrong again. Because most of our clients have already tried getting their health back before. They've already tried making dietary changes, taking labs, and they are scared of being wrong again. And I completely understand it. I was once there.
All right, I have to share a story with you, and because I want you to tell me what you would have done.
Sure.
If you were me. Okay, so here I am. I'm just, Jennifer. I've been really sick. I got over being sick, and I want to make sure that I'm healthy, but I hate going to doctors. I specifically do not like going to PCPs. And so I have put that off for probably 13 years. Okay. And I manage, I know a lot of stuff. I can manage this stuff on my own, but I decide, I'm going to get some blood work done. I go get my own blood work done, and something comes back really weird that was unexplainable to me. And I know a lot of stuff about blood tests. So I actually went to a PCP and said, hey, can you make sense of this? Because I do not get this. And they looked at it. They were like, you're right. This doesn't make any sense whatsoever. We're going to rerun your blood work. I said, great. Keep in mind, I had specifically not wanted to go to a doctor for literally 13 years. So they called me that afternoon. I was like, wow, you guys ran it that quickly. I was like, holy cow, this is cool. Maybe my experience has been all for naught, And they say, that really anomalous number that you got is not there anymore. That must have just been a weird one-off fluke with, the lab processing. And I'm like, okay. They're like, but there was something else we're not sure about. So we'll get back to you. We'll let you know for sure. I'm like, okay. So this is on a Monday. On a Friday, I was in a continuing education class. So I missed a bunch of phone calls. And it wasn't until Saturday morning that my husband was like, hey, whatever happened with that, blood work? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. They were supposed to call me back and they didn't. Let me see if I have any messages. And lo and behold, I had 2 messages. And I was like, oh, let me listen. We're on a family hike in the middle of the woods. Huge mistake. Should not have checked at that point. And the first message I get is from a cancer center letting me know that I am a new patient referral and to please call them immediately to make an appointment. So I was like, excuse me? Okay. The second message that I got is the doctor's office that I went to, the PCP office I went to, making sure that I knew that there was a cancer center trying to get a hold of me to make an appointment. And it was so critical that they went ahead and made the appointment for me. This Saturday, I can't do anything until Monday. The actual doctor that I had the appointment with, I've never spoken to her since I left that day. It's all been like nurses and just people giving me a call back. So for 2 days, I thought I had cancer. So first thing Monday morning, my husband and I, we call the office and I'm like, I need to speak to that doctor. And they're like, oh, well, they'll give you a call back. So an hour later, again, she calls and says, oh, Yeah, actually, you know what? Your blood work was actually fine. You don't have to go to that appointment. And, if you want to go, you can. And I was like, well, why would I want to go to that? They're like, oh, because you had that weird result when you first came in. I thought if you wanted to follow up on that. And my husband is like next to me and he said, do you mean to tell me that there's absolutely no reason whatsoever she should go to that appointment? And she's like, no, you really don't need to. And I was like, okay, great. Thanks. That happened last month to me.
Is
Last
that
month.
recent?
Yeah, last month. So I have a deep, deep sense of empathy now for anybody who got that phone call where it wasn't a mistake, because I was horrified that this is what it's like. And I think, oh my gosh, where has the empathy gone? What do people do when, that's what they feel like the only choice that they have in their healthcare is to go to people like that. And I just want to make people aware of, like, there's a completely different way to, practice medicine. But anyway, so what's your take on that?
Well, I first want to say I'm sorry that you had to go through that. That is something, quite frankly, that nobody should ever have to go through with, is that feeling of uncertainty and unknowing. I wish that was the first time I've heard a story kind of like that. Unfortunately, that's a fairly common theme that I hear in my practice. And I don't want to judge anybody on everybody else's failures, because, that's the way I always want to approach someone with humility. But the fundamental truth is that we are no longer in a healthcare system. We're in a disease management system. When you see your doctor and they put you on diabetic medication, or they put you on, your brother on thyroid medication, the reality is once you get on that medication, you rarely, if ever, get to have a conversation about what it looks like to actually get off. Sure, they may say it, but are they going to put a plan of action on what it actually looks like to either reduce or get off that medication? There is no financial incentive to get people off of meds. In fact, the reverse is true. Big Pharma has no financial incentive to having you stop taking your high blood pressure, your thyroid medication, your cholesterol medication. They make more money when you take more meds. The same thing is when you go in for more doctor's visits. Your insurance premiums go up. You have to pay your deductibles. You have to pay more copays. I mean, so to say that we're in a healthcare system, yes, it saves lives. If you're in a car accident, have your leg chopped off, something comes in as an emergency, absolutely go to them. That's what they're honestly best at. When it comes to lifestyle diseases, enhancing the quality of your life, this is where it falls very short. And I believe us as Americans have been duped into believing that the doctor, big pharma, and insurance is going to take care of us. Because as long as we can keep banging our insurance card, they're going to keep taking the labs. But really, it's a very broken system that isn't meant to empower. It's meant to simply prescribe and lead you on a life that is ultimately, I believe, in my opinion, unfulfilling, because you are feeling fat and sick and depressed.
So how do you see a better way to approach medicine? Because I'm sure that I'm sure you have people that come to see you that, like me, that, see the value, in Western medicine for some things. Like, listen, I am with you on acute care. I want my surgeon. I want my anesthesiologist. I want my critical care doc, right? When shit is hitting the fan, like, those people, they know what to do to save your life at that particular moment. It's just the chronic disease stuff that, we're not so good at, right? And so there's this whole other avenue. It's almost like medicine needs to be two different things moving forward. Like, you can go to school for preventive medicine and you can go to school for acute care, and hopefully if we do the preventative stuff correctly, for avoiding chronic disease. And that's seeing people like yourself, naturopathic physicians, traditional Chinese herbalists, medicine doctors.
That's why I call what I practice as a brand new way of medicine, because that's exactly what it is. I mean, so I practice functional medicine. It's getting at the root cause of the problem. If we're dealing with the root problem, it has to come from an education standpoint. I need to empower my clients so that way they are very well knowledgeable about what kind of a lifestyle they need to adopt, they need to change to in order to stop the cause. Now, you're either going to take time for your health now, or you're going to be forced to do it later. And the common narrative is as we age, we're taught to take the medication, to go home, and this is how things are. And then the last, 1, 2, 5, 10 years are not filled with a high quality of life as you reach those golden years. And so I can't guarantee anybody's future, but what I learned at a very early age is that I'm going to start living my life so that way I can start stacking the deck of cards of life in my favor.
Yes.
So that way I can see those sunrises.
Tell me one of your favorite patient stories.
Oh, man. Okay, so this is a gal named Abby, and her husband came in, and they're just one of my favorite people. She had it was psoriatic arthritis is what it was. So it's an autoimmune condition, immune system's attacking her joints. And, she was young. She's got young kids at home. And she was on medication. She was on methotrexate, which is an immune modulator. So it decreases her immune system. So she had to be very, very careful with, going out and seeing people. And she'd been on and off this medication because she knew it killed her liver, but there was no other options that she was given. So they came in, and we made lifestyle changes. We took very detailed labs, so we knew exactly where to start with her. There's no more guessing games. That's exactly what we do with all of our clients. And then we brought her through a very step-by-step process. We said, okay, I want Abby to make these 3 healthy habit changes this week. I want you to focus on only these 3. Don't eat the elephant all at once, Abby. Just simply focus on these 3, because next week we're going to give you 3 more. And so we helped coach and educate her about what foods to buy, how to cook them, how to exercise, what vitamins and supplements that are going to make her healing go faster, and watching her health radically change just over the period of 3 or 4 short months. She's no longer on the medication. And this was years ago. She's still not on the medication. Her symptoms completely resolved as far as the arthritis, and her autoimmune condition is now in balance because she has a healthy lifestyle. And I have many more, but that's one that oftentimes sticks out. And hearing their story afterwards is just like, not only did she get off the medication, and not only did she lose some weight, but she got to be mom again. She got to be a spouse again, and pull and live the way that she wanted to live.
I love that you said, all right, so here's the 3 things I want you to start with. 3 things I want you to start with, and we're not going to eat the whole elephant at once. I love that. Recently I was speaking with Catherine Arnston. So she started a company called Energy Bits out of trying to help her sister who had been diagnosed with breast cancer, because she wanted to find something that was super easy for her to get the nutrition she needed to be able to heal. And, when people ask me, what is one thing that I can start doing differently? And that's kind of what it is. People just want, what's one thing I can start doing? Because any more than that they just can't. They have to start with one super basic, simple thing. So, obviously, I'm not a practitioner. So, I'm going to say it's something like that, where we're giving the cells what they need to make energy, and her product is algae, based. So we have, the mitochondrial support, with the nutritional side, which is going to give you energy, but it's also going to start decreasing, the oxidative damage. So when you get people, though, that you know it's going to be really hard for them to start these lifestyle changes? Like, what are those baby steps that you recommend to people?
The number one thing that would make people decrease inflammation the fastest, and this is not new information, Jennifer. This is something that everybody has heard 1,000 times, but it still remains the truth, and that is eliminating sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that includes not replacing it with artificial sweeteners.
Oh, that's a big one. You know what?
Yes.
Oh, that is a big one. People forget it's like the two sides of a coin, right? Get rid of sugar, but you can't add in the aspartame or the sucralose or what have you.
And the reason why is because that is one of the number one reason or drivers of inflammation. And inflammation makes autoimmune worse. It makes your weight worse. It throws your hormones off even more. It makes your sleep worse. Like inflammation, think of it like this. Inflammation jams the gears of your metabolism and the rest of your body. So if you want to become a more efficient human being, decrease the inflammation in your body. So sugar is one of the number one big ones. Another one that I would give your audience is pay attention to where the healthy fats are and what kind of fats they're consuming. Is it vegetable oil? Is it canola oil? Is it peanut, soybean oil, cottonseed? That and sugar drive inflammation almost more than anything else. So if you want the biggest bang for your buck, you want to see results within 2 weeks, within 30 days, eliminate sugar, artificial sweeteners, and bad unhealthy fats. That is it. That is it. Don't go to the gym. If you want to drink half your body weight in ounces and water, do that. But don't worry about anything else. Just simply establish these habits, these healthy habits, and your body is going to start healing itself. It's going to start empowering your body and gaining more energy.
I like that you mentioned the gym. I think that one of the biggest misconceptions people have is that exercise is what helps you lose weight. And it's not. Exercise is great. It has a ton of benefits and it does other things for you, but it's not how you rewire your metabolism.
Absolutely not. No, we don't even educate on people with exercise. Like, it's a part of what we do, but we don't start with that until people start getting energy back.
Back to the healthy fats. I think that was a huge aha for people in the last 5 years or so, learning about the seed oils and how bad they are for you because of how they actually get metabolized in the body. And then, the fact that they increase, like you said, inflammation through, oxidation. And in our household, we got rid of them probably for good, I want to say 2 years ago. And so we cook now exclusively with beef tallow and coconut oil. So are these things that you recommend people replace with, that you educate them on? Like, how far do you go when you're trying to help people understand what the alternatives are?
To answer your question, yes. Like, it has to be. We have a 5-pillar system that we educate people on. So first we do labs, that way we know where to start. And then we move on to a detox. And I actually disagree with the vast majority of detoxes that I see online. Because it's something like starving yourself, drinking this nasty tea, stick your foot in this bath, or shove a hose up your butt. Something crazy. Okay, don't do that. That's the wrong detox, everybody. So
Okay.
A detox is a very gentle process that should lay the foundation for your gut and your liver. So it's labs, detox. Then we start focusing on nutrition. We bring them through a food elimination phase. That way we know what foods are building their body up, what foods are tearing their body down. And then we start talking about exercise. So, and then after that, it's hormones. And then we put someone together with a health and wellness coach, having a guide, having a mentor, showing you exactly what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So that way you have someone to be accountable to, and that way you can actually make certain you're doing the right things in the right order, in the right way, so that you get results. So let me walk you through that again. It's labs, detox, nutrition, fitness, hormones, mentorship. We take an all-encompassing approach. Because if you simply throw someone in the gym, you're not going to get results. If you simply start changing someone's diet, but you don't know specifically what's wrong or don't do a detox, again, it's going to be very frustrating.
I like the detox thing. Just one more quick question. I know we're coming up on time here, and I could probably talk to you for 3 more hours. Do you ever recommend people use binders for detox? Like, simple binders, maybe like charcoal or chlorella or, any specific supplement
Great
binders?
question. It depends upon the person. Often we will, yes. And it is obviously you don't want to take them with other vitamins and supplements because then it's going to bind onto those.
Right.
But if we're dealing with any kind of mold or any kind of possible heavy metals, then yes, we will.
Okay, great. All right. Before we go, can you share with people how they can learn more about what you do, where to find you, if they have questions about your protocol? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to do it is simply go to our website. It's twinoakshealth.com. We're education first, so we want to make certain people are well educated, not just simply on functional medicine, but really our style of medicine. It is a brand new way of medicine. It's something different than what most people have ever experienced, even if they've spent years in the alternative wellness space. And so we want to make sure that they're well educated and know how we practice, and it feels like a good fit. We'd love to have a conversation with them.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Sauer. This has been enlightening. And like I said, I feel like we could talk a lot more. I think you have some great stories and analogies to share. So maybe we'll schedule a part 2. But thanks again.
I would love that. Thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate it.